Working development research stage. Agreement. Pause to read. Minimum age of 18 required.
Who owns this? Well, this has been around for billions of years. Humans have been here for several thousands of years. One grain of sand in a bucket full of sand. Focusing on humans being here for several thousands of years. Now, focus on only the last 100 years. Look around at all that has happened in just 100 years. This is not normal wear and tear. It's intentional destruction. You drink bottled water. Why? Where are the deer and others going for their bottled water? Well, besides, who owns this? From the current looks of it, it appears this guy thinks he does.
Democracy. Democracy has democracy. 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 Democracy does democracy. 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 And democracy. Democracy is democracy. Democracy. Democracy.
Democracy. Want to bet? Democracy. The word stayed the same. They removed the bar. When I was a child, we were told that the Russians were so bad that they spied on their own people. In society, bubbles don't exist until they burst. It's only then that you realize that you were on the inside of this bubble the entire time and completely clueless. The only ones that know about the bubble are its evil creators. Past bubbles have come with warnings to no avail. When this bubble bursts, it will far exceed your wildest nightmares. Allow me to take you outside of one of the current bubbles you are trapped inside of.
Intro, Part 2 of 3. The state of Maryland sponsors and authorizes predators. For many years. This while abusing millions of voter and taxpayer dollars to prey on those very voters and taxpayers.
Catches him on video throwing baggies of heroin down a storm drain. Enough evidence for an arrest and a conviction.
You know, the old saying is, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video's worth 1,000,000.
Now, you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I had to crack his password for you to do this.
I think these videos are incredibly helpful.
We heard you. All right then. So, what's a circuit court judge in the same building as you have to say in these regards? Justice Judith C. Ensor, Baltimore County Circuit Court, Tucson, Maryland, USA.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Catches him on video throwing baggies of heroin down a storm drain. Enough evidence for an arrest and a conviction.
You know, the old saying is, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video's worth 1,000,000.
1,000,000. Really, Mr. Schellenberger? Because only 4 words come to mind. What's the hacker's name?
Now, you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I had to crack his password for you to do this.
Well,
I think these videos are incredibly helpful.
Catches him on video throwing baggies of heroin down a storm drain. Enough evidence for an arrest and a conviction.
You know, the old saying is, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video's worth 1,000,000.
2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and still going. Well. Just one day later.
Now you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I would crack his password for you to do this.
Carries a 5-year prison term. Not a pass to commit more crimes. Mr. Schellenberger, do you not agree, had you done your job, instead of favors, all of the abuses that will be shown throughout the presentations would have been avoided?
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Nearly 3 years of manufacturing fraud, and on September the 18th, 2013, comes Justice Judith E. Ensor, and decision, / one of many, vendetta, days.
Now you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I would crack his password for you to do this.
Let's try it this way. Number 1. What's? Number 2. The. Number 3. Hackers. Number 4. Name.
Catches him on video throwing baggies of heroin down a storm drain. Enough evidence for an arrest and a conviction.
You know, the old saying is, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video's worth 1,000,000.
Apparently, explaining your racketeering, extortion, white-collar child trafficking, and predatory crime ring will account for the other 999,996 words. Justice, Judith C. Ensor. Justice. A judge abides by facts, laws, truths and evidence. A justice creates their own facts, laws and truths, in the face of opposing evidence, and, or knowingly applies, lies to law. When the scales of justice become the scales of injustice. Note, this ad has been authorized by the actions of the Judicious. Judicious Judith C. E. Ensor. Judith C. E. Ensor demands the authorizing of predators, by signing fraudulent gag orders. After several years of meticulously documenting Judith C. E. Ensor's crime rings crimes against hundreds of children, millions of voters and taxpayers, the Judicial Oversight Commission did nothing. Then, as a gesture, warned Judith C. E. Ensor. A joke, at best. Judith C. E. Ensor, one of the reporter/documenter's live research subjects, was recused from all of the reporter/documenter's cases, which Judith C. E. Ensor had specially assigned to herself. In the research, specially assigned, is known as the alienation game. Judith C. E. Ensor then handed her crime and fraud-ridden years of work to another crime ring partner, Kathleen G. Cox, who also specially assigned the meticulously documented crime and fraud-ridden case to herself. This, in order to continue the alienation game. Kathleen G. Cox is another live research subject. Justice Kathleen G. Cox, who authorized the first fraudulent protective order on November 29, 2010, just one day prior to the federal computer hacking crime, caught on video. That protective order was dismissed 8 days later, at trial, on December 7, 2010. Cox and Silesky's protective frauder, dismissed. Obviously, this crime ring of unconscionables were not stopping there. How trapped are they all, in the over 6 years and still going, of meticulously documenting their crime rings crimes against hundreds of children and families, millions of voters and taxpayers? Well, in April 2014, The state of Maryland, Scott D. Schellenberger and Jill Pickett Savage, accepted the second fraudulent criminal filing, authorized a bench warrant, and the reporter/documenter was picked up and falsely incarcerated for reporting their crimes. With the normal, zero, evidence, and their backdoor agenda, known as a state agreement, designed to remove your rights to inform their victims, thereby creating a Hobson's choice, the documenter/reporter rejected their state. The state of Maryland was forced to surrender on January 22, 2015. This will provide an idea what just one presentation calendar looks like. There are many presentations, and dozens of these calendars. This is a portion of a puzzle from one presentation. And like this puzzle, they have many puzzle pieces. There are puzzles inside puzzles. These puzzles connect to other puzzles, and so on. Like a giant web of fraud. This is just one puzzle. If we look at just one puzzle piece, such as the first fraudulent criminal filing on January 18, 2012, and accepted by the state of Maryland and Scott D. Schellenberger, where it states,
upon the facts contained in the application of Stengel, Susan Silesky, it is formally charged. Upon the facts contained. Upon the facts.
Facts, not allegations. Really. This is called, go directly to the sentencing phase. Next we have a sample, known in the research as, allegations equals confessions. Watch how effective this is.
Computers illegal access. On or about August 1, 2011. Did intentionally, willfully, and without authorization access computer services, against the peace, government, and dignity of the state. And, throw him in prison for 3 years.
Now you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I have to crack his password for you to do this.
Along with the long provided, 37, perjurious actions, in that 8-page filing alone. How trapped are they all? Well, evil is not happy. Then, again, evil never is. Evil must keep going. Therefore, on November 16, 2015, 5 years after this began, and 1.5 years after, this crime ring had the reporter/documenter falsely incarcerated. With the help of the state of Maryland, Justice Kathleen G. Cox signs yet another illegal gag order, which includes many crime ring members, such as Bradford G.Y. Carney, Leon W. Berg, Dr. Kathleen Killeen, or Dr. Katherine Killeen, as her name keeps changing, the reporter/documenter's own attorney, Robert Wayne Lazzaro, known as Thieme. This illegal gag order even included her crime ring partner, Justice Judith C. Ensor. All seeking protection and immunization of their years of crimes ongoing, so they can continue to prey on unsuspecting victims. Even demanding to again incarcerate the reporter/documenter for trying to warn their many victims, the voters and taxpayers, and their future prey. Then, Justice Kathleen G. Cox, in a 100% illegal action, removes the First Amendment rights of the reporter/documenter of her and her crime ring's ongoing criminal activities spanning several years. Cox refuses to invite reporter/documenter to defend his First Amendment rights while holding secret hearings. This illegal and criminal action, just one of many documented, to prevent the voters from being informed, thereby illegally removing the rights of all voters. This while disrespecting the United States flag and stomping on the graves of all veterans that gave their lives to defend those very rights, and spitting in the faces of all veterans in the many hospitals, including the millions that served to defend those rights. Months later, the intentionally kept in the dark voters re-elect Kathleen G. Cox to the bench for another 15-year term. Kathleen G. Cox, a predator, authorizing predators. never properly served, or served at all. Next you will hear Justice Kathleen G. Cox's confession, in actual court audio, from the initial First Amendment rights hearing, on November 16, 2015. The reporter found out about this First Amendment rights hearing through a non-official person via a voicemail. With no time to obtain an attorney, he decided he would show up anyway. Not one predatory crime ring member ever filed a defamation suit, as all postings were true, and, more importantly, a defamation case brings the information out. Cox demands to authorize the continuing of predatory acts upon children, women, men, and society. So determined, she even removes the rights to defend your First Amendment rights. Then, you will hear from the opposing attorney, and just one of the many co-conspirators, Bradford G.Y. Carney, protecting his own crimes, confessing the same thing. Therefore both Cox and Carney confessing collusion and conspiracy, in order to keep their years of crimes a secret, so they can continue to prey on the unsuspecting public.
How is it that you knew to be present here today? How is it that you knew to be present here today? How is it that you knew to be present here today?
Furthermore, how would Mr. Stengel even know to be here today, Judge?
Rule 18-202.6. Ensuring the right to be heard. West's Annotated Code of Maryland. Maryland Rules. A judicial appointee shall accord to every person who has a legal interest in a proceeding, or that person's attorney, the right to be heard according to law. Comment. 1. The right to be heard is an essential component of a fair and impartial system of justice. Substantive rights of litigants can be protected only if procedures protecting the right to be heard are observed. 2. Increasingly, judicial appointees have before them self-represented litigants, whose lack of knowledge about the law and about judicial procedures and requirements may inhibit their ability to be heard effectively. A judicial appointee's obligation under Rule 18-202.2, to remain fair and impartial. This is part of a 6-hour 36-minute presentation. And, there are many presentations, spanning over 6 years, and still going. On this same day, let's listen to what else an evil, psychotic, predator, sounds like. Judith Kathleen G. Cox. Whenever you are ready.
I'm going to live with the letter of the law. I'm going to live with the letter of the law. I'm going to live with the letter of the law. I'm going to live with the letter of the law. I'm going to live with the letter of the law.
After this predatory crime ring used brainwashing and psychological warfare tactics on hundreds of victims, even having 92 people sign away their own First Amendment rights, in a criminally threatening letter to the very reporter that has meticulously documented them being violated and abused for years, and continues. 90 of the 92 had the identical, word-for-word, paragraph. Drones. The state of Maryland surrendered their case, shortly after receiving a 148-page package with audio and video DVDs, on December 19, 2014, loaded with evidence of local, state and federal crimes, as you will see on disc number 1. Also noted, the 148 pages are just some samples of Ms. Susan Silesky's career of crimes. After the state's decision to surrender, Ms. Silesky, now frantic, uses the pity and urgency tools combined to intentionally provide no time to think. Include the pity, and it's like a 1-2 punch to a conscience. Pity and urgency can both be found next to each other in the often used rinse and repeat section in any extremely high-level unconscionables daily tool chest. This common tactic by Ms. Susan Silesky, making demands of her fleet of carriers, quickly gathered 92 victims. The state's attempt to hand over the signed stack of 92 brainwashed, deluded, and repeatedly violated victims' letters outside the courtroom was rejected by the reporter/documenter. Now, forced inside the courtroom, and on the record, the state of Maryland provides to the reporter/documenter the stack of evidence and obvious effects of the state and this crime ring's brainwashing and psychological warfare tactics, waged for years. Among many things, and like Judith Judith C. Ensor and Judith Kathleen G. Cox, the state also partakes in the authorizing of these abuse tactics, and intentionally refusing to inform the many victims. Oppress. keep someone in subservience and hardship, especially by the unjust exercise of authority. The state of Maryland, and the rest of this ever-expanding crime ring, outright refuse to ever tell the many victims. Therefore, being victimized is ongoing. And victimized to victimize others, including your own children. Illegally removing the reporter/documenter's First Amendment rights, so not to inform anyone. As an added layer of keeping their victims in the dark, aka the alienation game, they con their victims to surrender their own rights. So important, all letters came with a criminal threat. Apparently, these deluded, cult member-like drones forgot they owned a trash can. But really, it was the decision to throw or not to throw some papers away, which was simply too much to decide on their own. Where some had their minor children sign their own rights away, and criminally threatening letter, such as this actual sample.
January 7th, 2015. Dear Mr. Stengel, the purpose of my writing is to inform you to immediately cease and desist from all communication with me of any kind. By communication, I mean not only written, email, text and phone, but communication through third parties and social media. Your failure to comply with this basic request may lead to a request for a civil peace order against you, or the filing of criminal harassment charges. Thank you for your cooperation.
With that in mind, this reporter turns the tables on this evil villain.
It's about how people were manipulated and conned against myself and my children. Okay? And to this day, they still don't know. So these people want to leave these people, and there are hundreds of them, in a state of delusion. That's their attempt, to leave them in a state. Don't let the victims know, by the way, that they've been victimized by these people. And we're going to sign an order that you can't tell the victims that they're victims. Okay? And instead, we're going to brainwash them, and we're going to make them deluded, where they send me a letter threatening me criminal prosecution should I contact them. Now, I have one question for Your Honor. What would it take for you to sign anything to give away your own First Amendment right to receive information?
Apparently, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. In fact, the goose refuses the hundreds of geese and gander be afforded truth, or their right to be heard. Like on National Quashing Day, November the 26th, 2012. Conspired actions to remove First Amendment rights, as needed. Witnesses. Hell, no.
There shall be no informing the minor children, or any victims. That's an order. Signed, Judith Judith C. Ensor. There shall be no informing the Baltimore County Police, or any victims. That's an order. Signed, Judith Kathleen G. Cox.
3 years later, and going, the trapped Cox demands their psychologically raped victims remain unaware they are continually being violated, to violate their own children and others. Including mothers and fathers violated, to violate their own children. That's an order. Remain mentally incarcerated. What we already heard ignored, was Cox being given a choice, by the reporter/documenter. Cox doesn't afford her/their victims any choice. These evil predators refuse to allow their victims be informed. 1. They had many choices. 2. They were all made for them. Reality, the oppress synonyms, are a list of crimes by this crime ring. Almost custom made. 1. Persecute check. 2. Abuse check. 3. Maltreat check. 4. Ill-treat check. 5. Tyrannize check. 6. Crush check. 7. Repress check. 8. Suppress check. Do we need to continue? Guilty. 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 After slamming loads of facts, truths, and reality down their throats, and on the record, you can understand why the reporter/documenter was never afforded the right to an attorney, or invited to their future secret hearings. As you will learn, the reporter/documenter was later arrested, for not adhering to Justice Kathleen G. Cox's ruling, in their secret hearings, nor where these hearings took place, or of any such rulings. Besides all of those that fraudulently billed for their work/crimes, and those protecting them all, by illegally demanding details of their work, not be provided to others, except for payment of their counterfeit orders, fraud bills and fraud judgments, assigned by Judith C. Ensor, which she included the 10% maximum interest, allowed by law. What else is all of the illegal removal of the reporter/documenter's First Amendment rights really about, and focused on? Well, the specially assigned case to herself, Kathleen G. Cox, had the initial secret hearing on November 16, 2015. As we already heard some portions, confirming the reporter/documenter was not officially invited. The next secret hearing at voter and taxpayer expense was held while ignoring the reporter/documenter's request to obtain a First Amendment rights attorney. The next secret hearing at voter and taxpayer expense was held on January 27, 2016. And the calendars keep growing. More taxpayer dollars. That's an order. On February 3, 2016, Kathleen G. Cox ordered and signed a secret body attachment/warrant to arrest the reporter/documenter. The reporter/documenter, in 52 years, did not have issues with the courts, the police, etc. until the first fraudulent protective order, illegally filed on November 29, 2010, and still continues, spanning over 6 years. Due to their collective manufacturing of lies, and repeatedly conspiring to, and successful in committing fraud, ever since. This requires lying to everyone, including the Sheriff's Department. So, how dangerous is this reporter/documenter? Well, on February 4, 2016, at voter and taxpayer expense, they sent for deputy sheriffs in 2 separate vehicles, and hid them behind tall trees, then on the home door, while surrounding the home. The reporter/documenter answers the door, only to be handcuffed, and falsely arrested, for the second time. Again held against his will, without being told why he was there. Mugshots taken, hours in a cement and steel cell, eventually taken to the specially self-assigned Kathleen G. Cox. Cox demands a Hobson's choice. Clearly noted as purge amount to comply, is to comply. Ask any whistleblower. Free speech is free, as long as you don't try and use it. At that time, you will learn you can't, even buy free speech. In other words, there is no amount of money that will allow their crimes against society be exposed. And that's an order. Go to prison, or remove the online materials containing evidence of this crime ring's predatory and criminal actions. Also, the reporter/documenter is not even permitted to post any photo of his own children, because the several hundreds of photos prove all of their allegations are with foreknowledge 100% false. So devastating and urgent, Cox demands this all be done by 6 p.m. It was after 2 p.m., and no ride home. The deputy sheriffs only provide door-to-jail service. Besides, they were stressed from the dangerous mission they were assigned. Months later, on May 12, 2016, the reporter/documenter is arrested for the third time.
Surprise!
Regardless of the fact, the reporter/documenter is on permanent disability with his back, and among other back problems, requires 3 fusions. He is again handcuffed, mugshots taken, and forced into a cement and steel cell for hours. Again, held against his will, and not told why. Besides, don't most divorce cases include prison? The second self-specially assigned criminal, Judith Kathleen G. Cox, to this so-called divorce case, at this May 12, 2016 juncture, is over 5 years and going, as the initial fraudulent protective order began in her very courtroom, which, 8 days later, Judge Alexander dismissed at trial. However, nearly 5.5 years later, and on May 12, 2016, Cox was currently off, and enjoying her taxpayer-paid vacation. Ordered to remove the posted materials, no later than February 1, 2016. In the event he failed to remove those materials, a body attachment will be issued. Held in the Baltimore County Detention Center, until he complied. Ordered, this 3rd day of February, 2016, that a body attachment be issued. When Mr. Stegall is detained on the body attachment, he shall be brought before Judge Kathleen Cox. Therefore, Judge Mickey Norman explained the basis for Kathleen G. Cox's removal of the reporter/documenter's First Amendment rights, the many secret hearings and secret rulings, including the second, and this third, false arrest. Apparently, that secret hearing was on January 27, 2016. On February 12, 2016, a mere 8 days after the 4 deputy sheriffs descended upon the reporter/documenter's home, with a secret body attachment warrant, number 2, Kathleen G. Cox issues yet another secret body attachment. For failure to adhere to their secret ruling, at their secret hearing on January 27, 2016. That secret hearing had a secret ruling, which secretly expired on February 1, 2016. So, what evidence of crimes must be removed? What specifically requires the illegal removal of the reporter/documenter's First Amendment rights, the required racketeering and extortion of over $500,000, the stealing of the reporter/documenter's children, known as white-collar child trafficking, the abusing of millions of taxpayer dollars, the false arrest and false incarceration, the second false arrest, now the third false arrest, the still ongoing attempt to steal the reporter/documenter's home, and conspiring with James W. Holderness, and an insane amount more. What is it specifically that is being exposed? Child predators. And the truth about fraud.
Huh?
Child predators. And the truth about fraud.
Huh?
Continue to contain materials that violate prior court orders. Orders. Plural. If you like magic, there are loads of tricks. Here is one. I think you will like this trick. The secret hearing on January 27, 2016. Kathleen G. Cox files the secret ruling from the secret hearing on February 1, 2016. The secret ruling at the secret hearing expires on February 1, 2016. Warm up the deputy sheriff's cars. Therefore, the secret ruling from the secret hearing was held until it expired. The only ones that knew about the secret ruling were those at the secret hearing. And eventually, the sheriff's department. The taxpayer dollars department. Ordered that the plaintiff shall deactivate and remove child predators and the truth about fraud sites. There shall be no flares shot up that would alert past victims and bring them to the forefront. There shall be no informing the victims, period. There shall be no warnings to our future prey. That's an order.
Who do you think you are?
We welcome Judith Paul J. Hanley, who also refused a requested hearing. Also ignoring the right to be heard, then makes fraudulent decisions, forwarding the known criminal's actions to steal the reporter/documenter's home. Even though the criminal was and is currently using a fictitious company as plaintiff. Criminal has many crimes throughout the country. was also sued in federal court by the Federal Trade Commission. This one, Judith Paul J. Hanley story alone, is mind-boggling. See how easy the unconscionables and predators expose themselves. While you are here, meet James W. Holderness, the alleged attorney for the alleged non-existent Llama Corn Acures, LLC, where Mr. James W. Holderness also appears to be the owner of this virtual corporation. Attorney, only in Maryland. Google James Holderness.
Federal Trade Commission announces series of actions against mortgage relief operations charged with deceiving distressed homeowners. The defendants are Residential Relief Foundation Incorporated, Silver Lining Services LLC, Mitigation America LLC, Michael Vallanti, and Brian J. Melanson, Gillian N. Melanson, Dennis Zygowski, and James W. Holderness, also doing business as the Law Office of James Holderness. Federal Trade Commission shuts down Baltimore County mortgage scam. Agency claims that Residential Relief Foundation conned $10 million from 24,000 consumers. Used fraudulent and deceptive practices to scam as much as $10 million from about 24,000 people across the country, and all were operated by attorney James W. Holderness. A second boiler room operation was located in the White Marsh area. Federal Trade Commission stipulated final order for permanent injunction. James Holderness hereby stipulate to the entry of this final order for permanent injunction. Federal Trade Commission's permanent injunction repeatedly ignored by James W. Holderness and ignored by 3 circuit court judges. Criminals authorizing criminals. Paid for by you, the taxpayer.
Just as bizarre, Judge John F. Fader retired on November the 11th, 2003. Curiously, 11.5 years after retiring. And on April the 24th, 2015, denied Llama Corn Acures, LLC, and James W. Holderness's motion. However, over 100 days later, apparently while on the golf course, this retired judge had an epiphany, and on August the 7th, 2015, changed his ruling to granted.
Huh? Huh?
Kathleen G. Cox, in order to continue the alienation game, sure enough, specially assigns the so-called divorce case to herself. Case number 03-C-10-014625. In yet another obvious criminal act, on March the 30th, 2017, Kathleen G. Cox, out of the blue, and for the first time ever, infiltrates the Steal the Family Home scam and fraud case. Case number 03-C-14-19441. Cox demands to assist and illegally forward more crimes. Cox authorizes a 180-day extension to the non-existent and fictitious plaintiff, Llama Corn Acures, LLC, with an alleged attorney, James W. Holderness. This crime is evidenced by her initials, KGC, and the fact there is no recent extension request even made. The law is our menu. Correct. But more fraud. Loads of fraud.
Who do you think you are?
Kathleen G. Cox demands and continues to be deeply entrenched in many crimes, and with many criminals. Since the Federal Trade Commission already sued James W. Holderness in federal court, which resulted in a settlement. Among others, the agreement permanently enjoined Mr. Holderness from business related to mortgage, bank, debt, financial, loans, etc. Obviously, James W. Holderness conned the Federal Trade Commission as well. The Federal Trade Commission provided the reporter/documenter with a reference number in late 2017. Holderness is now being investigated regarding this case and ignoring a federal agreement. This occurred with all 50 states. Anything begin with llama. Found some, just not llama cornacus. Try llama cornacus, and none ever existed.
Who do you think you are?
Kathleen G. Cox is also deeply involved in privacy crimes regarding Susan Silesky, her attorney, and Leon W. Berg. Merrill Lynch Corporation confirmed they were lied to by Susan Silesky on May 30, 2017, in order to criminally obtain the reporter/documenter's private information. Kathleen G. Cox, after being warned, knowingly authorizes and assists Leon W. Berg to act and benefit from that criminally obtained information while involving Merrill Lynch Corporation. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, provided the reporter/documenter with a reference number, as that federal authority is now also involved.
Big stuff. Who do you think you are?
Assists in stealing the long paid in full family home, and also illegally reject the request to be heard. This occurred with all 50 states. Anything begin with llama. Found some, just not llama cornacus. Try llama cornacus, and none ever existed. Rule 18-202.6. Ensuring the right to be heard. West's Annotated Code of Maryland. Maryland Rules. A judicial appointee shall accord to every person who has a legal interest in a proceeding, or that person's attorney, the right to be heard according to law. Shortly after the reporter/documenter began reporting their crimes, they removed all the judges' photos from the Circuit Court for Baltimore County, Maryland website. What predator wants to be recognized in public? In the series, you will be the fly on the walls of evil, and watch and learn how they 100% manufacture reality. Not 99%. 100%. At this point, going 5 years. Fraud in, fraud out. Day in, day out. For many years and still going. Given Judith Kathleen G. Cox is herself loaded with her own false allegations. When pressed, can't back up even one.
These actions are against me. They put me in prison for this fraud. Okay? And I have the right to show how this all occurred. And this is after that. So I can't start it at the prison thing, because what would that show? Nothing. That wouldn't be anything. So I have to show, like, how did this come to be? And where are my First Amendment rights to say what's so? And I'm not just, they have yet to point to anything that's false. Okay? All they're doing is alienating people.
They point to several things that are false.
Like what?
There are all kinds of things in there that are false, Mr. Stengel.
Like what? Please tell me
I'm
one.
not going to get into this debate.
But there isn't any. I haven't provided any false information whatsoever.
I'm not going to get into this debate. I'm not going to get into this debate. I'm not going to get into this debate.
Obviously, the mere fact of debating facts, truths and law, in a court of law, is being rejected, and clearly upsetting to this Judith. The concept alone has her in a rant. Reality, Judith Kathleen Cox can't validate her own knowingly false and disparaging statements directed towards the reporter/documenter. Therefore, forced to use the "I'm the judge, so screw you, your children, their children, the taxpayers, and the public" out clause. Must alienate all voters.
Judge this Kathleen G. Cox. Re-elected via fraud. Surprise!
Between Ensor and Cox, they kept all of the reporter/documenter's information alienated. Illegally. Why? For one, they always have the same problem. Let's allow Judith C. Ensor, 4 years after this began, explain it in her own words.
I don't have shred of evidence before me. I don't have a shred of evidence before me. I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
We cut Ensor off before she finished. Let's go back.
What I will tell you is this. I don't have a shred of evidence before me. Well, let me back up. Dr. Lyon testified that Mr. Stengel's been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Huh?
Judith Ensor did provide evidence, but it was her own fraudulent attempt to alter the provided expert testimony. It is believed this is why Ensor was warned by the Commission. Bottom line.
Dr. Alan Kimmel, Ms. Stengel's medical doctor, aware of Ms. Stengel's mental health issues.
I don't have a shred of evidence before me. I don't have a shred of evidence before me. I don't have a shred of evidence before me. I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
Because. Say the because.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Evidence. What's that? Why bother? Just make it all up.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
A year after that.
I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
We know. It's obvious.
I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
Except for several thousands provided to everyone, which included these couple samples from the initial fraudulent protective order on November the 29th, 2010, which began it all.
You showed him a picture?
He wanted to know what happened.
Excuse me.
Where the stuff go in the house? I'm not getting, he wanted to know what happened to the stuff in his house.
And then you showed him a videotape of something that I was doing?
No, not
and you
a
don't want to
videotape.
get my son involved?
I never said a videotape.
You just said right here he showed me some of it, and I lied because
I did not.
Okay, listen, this is sick.
Where are my cameras?
This is sick. I put them away.
However, 2 days later, and sworn to, under oath, Miss Silesky does this. H.
He has shown video footage to my, son, age 10.
I never said a videotape.
You just said right here he showed me some of it, and I lied because I
did not.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
In the Got Chaz, No Way Outs list, Ms. Silesky's filing notes, 27 actions, and her sworn testimony, which is next, adds another 48, totaling 75 actions. Of the over 2,000 documented.
Because when I go upstairs, I'll put it up there. Okay? Don't worry about me, Mark. You worry about yourself. You worry about yourself and telling your kids and showing them videotape. Okay?
I haven't seen one videotape.
Yeah, if Daddy starts to show you a videotape, I want you to run the other way because that's wrong for any individual, especially an adult, to do to a child. And he's already tried to do that with Alex.
I did?
You did do it. He even told me you did.
However, 2 days later, and sworn to, under oath, Miss Silesky does this. 15.
He has been videotaping me in the house, and showing the footage to the children.
Fact, filing said, son, now children, plural.
Because when I go upstairs, I'll put it up there. Okay? Don't worry about me, Mark. You worry about yourself. You worry about yourself and telling your kids and showing them videotape. Okay?
I haven't seen one videotape.
Yeah, if
there should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Because I don't have hidden ones. Thank you.
Hidden ones?
Right.
You don't need hidden cameras. You can have small little things, but these are massive. How come?
Yes, you can't miss them.
Really?
Right. Then you would say, oh, you put little ones up there. What are you hiding? So I put that in Joe, they're massive. Now that's a problem. That is a problem. Stop.
You're hiding them.
Please stop.
No, I don't want to stop.
However, 5 days later, and Miss Silesky does this.
My husband has hidden cameras around the house.
Problem. Stop.
You're hiding them.
Please stop.
No, I don't want to stop.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Filing. G.
I don't know where the cameras are.
Problem. Stop.
You're hiding them.
Please stop.
No, I don't want to stop.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video. There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
So changes what numbers? You can't afford to send your kids to good schools, and yet you're going to keep them in a school district that's going to become black, like Newtown and Randallstown. And then what? Let's hold on to the numbers for another $500, $5,000. Let's do that.
That's what I'm going to do. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not even going to interact with you.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
You don't even let your wife talk, ever. You don't even let me, because that's what it feels like. So you talk, I do too. What? No!
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
One thing you will learn is the language of psychosis.
Catches him on video throwing baggies of heroin down a storm drain. Enough evidence for an arrest and a conviction.
You know, the old saying is, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video's worth 1,000,000.
This predator, Scott D. Schellenberger, was excited about the police body cameras. Months after that interview, and on October the 1st, 2017, comes another.
Next comes the physical resistance bill. Now, evidence of physical resistance is not required to prove a sexual crime took place.
When we prosecute robbery victims, do we ask the robbery victim if they push the gun away? And the answer to that is no. And therefore, why are we asking sexual assault victims if they tried to resist? Why are we asking sexual assault victims if they tried to resist?
Huh?
He only cares about his numbers and prosecuting people. Innocent or not, it still counts. This is the don't ask, just prosecute policy.
Why are we asking sexual assault victims if they tried to resist?
Huh?
Society went from a rape victim unable to get anyone's attention and themselves being blamed. Investigation is rejected. Question the predator is rejected, let alone charge the predator. 2. Falsely accuse someone, anyone, and they won't even ask if there was any resistance. Tell your sons, like doctors, someone else should be in the room at all times.
Why are we asking sexual assault victims if they tried to resist?
Huh?
Body cameras are a great new technology that will help answer a lot of questions and actually strengthen the relationship between the police and the community that we serve.
Now, you're not in trouble for getting into his account, are you? Because I would crack his password for you to do this.
All right then, Mr. Kevin Kamenetz. It's your turn. What's the hacker's name? Well, it also turns out, the reporter/documenter, years back, coached Mr. Kamenetz's son in basketball. You're welcome.
Body cameras are a great new technology that will help answer a lot of questions and actually strengthen the relationship between the police and the community that we serve.
Hashtag, what's the hacker's name? Hashtag, what's the hacker's name?
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video. I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
How to protect fraud. Pay attention, as Judith Ensor explains and demonstrates to the millions of children. As a backup, which of the dozens of illegal and criminal actions were you forced to take? You know, one that proves judges are colluding and conspiring with attorneys and other professionals against the unsuspecting public for years and still going.
I have a question for Your Honor, if you don't mind. In relation to Mr. Carney's bills, am I able to ask him questions in regards to his bills?
No.
Why is the date, November the 26th, 2012, familiar? Well, so far, you know it as National Quashing Day. Therefore, no witnesses, and no questioning fraud bills. "100% illegal act" was also ignored by the Maryland Court of Special Appeals, and Uncle Ray Thieme. 3 days later, the trial ended. Maryland rules state, a judge is to render a decision within 60 days. However, reverse engineering the thousands of meticulously documented, and long provided, opposing evidence, is no easy task. Judith Ensor, breaking another rule, takes nearly 10 months. Let's allow Ensor summarize her conclusions.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed, and I considered the rates charged. Part of that review, frankly, was with an eye to determining who was actually driving the litigation. And of course, for that, I only have the pleadings filed and the descriptions delineated in the bills themselves. I do find the hourly rates charged to be fair. I find the time allotted for the tasks performed reasonable. I find that of the almost $200,000 in legal bills, much is attributable to inappropriate actions on the part of Mr. Stengel.
Huh?
Can we have an example from Mr. Bradford Carney's $200,000 of counterfeit orders and fraud bills, laced with self-documented confessions of conspiracy and fraud? Which questioning was illegally and fraudulently blocked? There are many. Provide one you used to validate your findings. And, let's not forget, the best you could come up with, even taking a nearly 10-month vendetta break. Go on. Explain why it's all Mr. Stegel's doing. This will be fun.
Invoice number 45943, dated September 7th of 2011, contains an entry for watching the Truth About Susan video. There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Therefore. Therefore. Justice Judith C. Ensor fraudulently slams Mr. Stegel with judgments in favor of Dr. Katherine Killeen for $13,856. That is on top of the over $20,000, an insane extortion amount already paid by Mr. Stegel. In favor of Mr. Leon W. Berg for $25,676. That is on top of the over $20,000, an insane extortion amount already paid by Mr. Stegel. And multiple judgments in favor of Miss Silesky, in the amounts of $636, $1,067, $3,565, for complete bullshit. And the infamous, just bill baby bill, since they won't be able to ask questions, fraud legal bills judgment in the amount of $135,000. $179,000 plus fraudulent judgments. Racketeering and predatory crime ring of bullies, manufacturing money. Hot off the press. Counterfeiting orders, and trading them in for counterfeit judgments, and trading for real property, and trading for cashola. This also refers to the state-sponsored money laundering program, which falls under the state-sponsored vendetta umbrella. And, in order to facilitate their collective agenda, they all converted their fraudulent judgments into fraudulent liens to steal the family home. Can we have one real example? Just one. Not the insane, psychotic and twisted context version, in a nearly 10-month attempt at perfecting fraud. How predatory and evil is this psychotic crime ring, playing God at their psychotic whims? Try this one provided sample.
I totally get who lies in this family, and it ain't me, Mr. Stengel. Let's go, Maya. Hopefully, with your lunch. So glad this happened. Let's go, Maya. Hopefully, with your lunch. So glad this happened. Let's go, Maya. Hopefully, with your lunch. So glad this happened. Let's go, Maya.
Hopefully.
Let's go, Maya.
Hopefully.
With your lunch. So glad this happened.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video. I don't have a shred of evidence before me. I went through the bills. I went through them line by line.
Right. Obviously, you did not have many options. You did say you used the descriptions in the bills. Is that normal? Using some attorneys' descriptions in their bills as fact in a court of law. Well then. All detailed in the series, let's take a few minutes and read some of those descriptions and their respective timelines.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed. I studied the description.
Buckle up.
Line by line.
The custody trial was set for December the 1st, 2011, where Dr. Katherine Killeen would testify as the child custody evaluator and expert. Mr. Robert Wayne Lazzaro, the mole, was specifically hired for this reason, yet bailed at the appropriate time, as he did many times afterwards. All detailed in other presentations. Bradford G.Y. Carney's bill dated December the 5th, 2011. Payments received since last invoice. 0. We look at page number 3 of 3. Collusion lunch. Notes.
Vendor Bradford Carney, invoice number 32627221, miscellaneous. Meeting with best interest attorney at Cafe Troya, on November 3, 2011. For $31.16.
This, just weeks before Dr. Killeen's fraud testimony on December the 1st, 2011, as Mr. Berg's only witness. Mr. Berg enjoys a collusion lunch with his crime ring partner, Bradford G.Y. Carney. Both demand Mr. Stengel should pay for it. Judge this Judith Ensor agrees. Dear Judge this Judith C. Ensor, if one of them, or both, choked to death on that lunch, would Mr. Stengel be responsible for that as well? The bottom of the invoice notes.
Total of new charges for this invoice. $16,647.36.
That's what many complete divorces cost. However, with Mr. Carney, it's just 1 month. To be completely fair, that amount includes all the collusion, conspiracy and other criminal actions. Miss Silesky pays $0.00, with the balance now exceeding $100,000. Is any one of these actions fair and reasonable, let alone all of them?
Line by line.
December the 1st, 2011, custody trial. 3 days prior. Welcome to the Spread the Fraud Sheets bills, which are a side-by-side spreadsheet that reflect their actual bills. There are 130 pages. On page number 75, for time's sake, we will only focus on number 13 and number 14. 13, Mr. Carney's bill notes.
November 28, 2011. Call from Berg regarding order of witnesses, nature of Killeen's testimony and general trial preparation.
0.30 hours, for $112.50. Note, collusion, conspiracy, fraud, and more. You will notice, Mr. Berg's column/bills do not reflect his actions. 14, Mr. Carney's bill notes.
November 28, 2011, read email from Susie regarding her desire, not let kids testify.
0.30 hours, for $112.50. Note, collusion against children. Do not let the kids have a say, right Mr. Berg? Hell no. As always, the Spread the Fraud Sheets bills reflect their actual bills.
November 28, 2011, call from Berg regarding order of witnesses, nature of Killeen's testimony and general trial preparation.
Line by line. I studied the description.
16. Dr. Killeen's Bill Notes.
November 29, 2011. Trial preparation with Mr. Berg. Review DVDs The Truth Regarding Susie. Transcripts plus actual events. Review website susitube.com. TheBruceFiasco.com.
11.00 hours, for $2,750. Note, evidence and presentations provided, several months prior, and evidence, Dr. Killeen received the evidence. 17. Mr. Berg's Bill Notes.
November 29, 2011, meeting with Dr. Killeen.
5.75 hours, for $1,725. Note, meet with Dr. Killeen for collusion with Mr. Carney. Only a couple days before trial. 18. Mr. Carney's Bill Notes.
November 29, 2011, trial preparation, call from Berg at Killeen's office regarding trial procedure/strategy.
0.40 hours, for $150. Note, collusion connects all three. Collusion Incorporated. Berg goes to his only called expert witness Dr. Killeen's office, where from Killeen's office, Leon W. Berg calls Mr. Carney to discuss strategy.
Line by line.
These are just small samples, as their bills are laced with this and other fraud and abuses to everyone. Nothing. In comparison to their other insane number of crimes. And the reason they must falsely incarcerate Mr. Stengel and brainwash others to assist. And their unauthorized use of many names, schools, and organizations, known as identity theft, to commit more crimes. And must, at all costs, illegally remove Mr. Stengel's First Amendment rights.
Line by line.
They all forgot to mention, each line item in each of their bills is an order for services for which they demand payment. Surely they all mentioned all of this to the hundreds they are protecting. Surely one of them mentioned all of this. Surely one of them mentioned just one action in its proper context. No matter how much you have viewed and how many presentations you have seen or will see, always, always, always remember. December the 1st, 2011, custody hearing to continue. 5 months later, May 2nd and May 3rd, 2012. Dr. Killeen, scheduled to be cross-examined. Killeen is still on the stand. Dr. Katherine Killeen's fraudulent sworn testimony exceeding 100, knowingly, false statements were provided on December the 1st, 2011, and suborned by Mr. Leon W. Berg, including falsely opining for other professionals. Trial set for May 2nd and 3rd, 2012. For Dr. Killeen to be cross-examined. Therefore, Mr. Berg's expert witness, Dr. Killeen, is still on the stand. Dr. Killeen, court-ordered and agreed to complete extensive psychological tests on all parties. Dr. Killeen refused to provide her contractually obligated extensive report for outside third-party review. After being provided Ms. Silesky's long-term mental illness history by Mr. Stengel, information requested by Mr. Leon W. Berg, Dr. Katherine Killeen, and Leon W. Berg, both refused to obtain Ms. Silesky's medical records. Dr. Killeen billed for a 30-minute call to Dr. Kimmel. However, Mr. Stengel later verified, no medical records were requested. Obviously, verifying the facts provided required yet another fraudulent action. Yet, with intentionally ignoring Ms. Silesky's medical records, somehow, Dr. Killeen was able to complete her extensive psychological tests and opine as an expert. Due to their pre-designed and coordinated collective efforts, and Dr. Killeen's sworn false testimony on December the 1st, 2011, the children lost all communications with their father, as Mr. Stengel documented every step. Let's take an overhead view. It looks like a lot. It's but a micro dot of this research. A few samples only of what took place prior to Dr. Killeen's sworn testimony on December the 1st, 2011, 11 months after Mr. Berg and Dr. Killeen began. If we go back 2 weeks and use only a couple samples leading up to this sworn expert's testimony, it looks like this. On November the 15th or 16th, 2011, as nothing ever matches, Miss Silesky filed her second fraudulent protective order. 1 week later, comes November the 23rd, 2011, known as the Altered Evidence Trial. Altered, in cooperation with Bradford G.Y. Carney, as later confessed. On November the 23rd, 2011, Judge Leo Raymond Jr. was hoodwinked, like so many others. Then, just days prior to Dr. Killeen's sworn testimony, comes their many pow-wows as they collectively conspire to hoodwink whatever judge gets the case on December the 1st, 2011. Since December the 1st, 2011, was scheduled to resume, technically, legally and ethically, Dr. Katherine Killeen is, and has been, still on the stand. Then, came Dr. Katherine Killeen's independent expert testimony, sworn under oath, and the penalty of perjury, and suborned by Leon W. Berg. Okay, let's do another sample. Rinse and repeat. Just providing a few samples, so buckle up.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed.
Leon W. Berg, PA, May the 1st, 2012. Mark Stengel. Bradford G.Y. Carney, Esquire. Note, the first line in Mr. Berg's bill is evidence of Mr. Berg lying to the Oversight Commission, and very enlightening. Next. Mr. Berg's bill notes.
April 26, 2012, telephone call with K. Killeen, and B. Carney, Esquire. 1.00 hour, for $300.
Note, Mr. Berg's only called witness, Dr. Killeen, who is still on the stand, and Mr. Carney. Just 6 days before trial, colluding, and conspiring. A fraud trifecta.
Line by line.
Mr. Berg's bill notes.
April 27, 2012, meeting with K. Killeen. 1.75 hours, for $525.
Note, another covert action. These are the people that harassed and abused the schools, and countless teachers, and staff, and never provided any of the records to the courts. Such as the Garrison Forest School records, with years of Miss Silesky's outrageous actions, and behaviors, as that did not fit into their agenda. They never told the schools, or anyone, they were simply looking for dirt on Mr. Stengel, and as already heard, they kept coming up empty. This detailed in the Garrison Forest School fiasco presentation, and portions shown in other presentations.
Line by line.
We continue to go line by line. Mr. Berg's bill notes.
April 28, 2012, trial preparation. 3.75 hours, for $1,125.
Note, preparing to commit more fraud upon the courts, and against his minor clients.
Line by line.
Mr. Berg's bill notes.
April 30, 2012, telephone with K. Killeen and B. Carney, Esquire. Trial preparation. 2.90 hours, for $870.
Note, 2 days before trial. More collusion and conspiracy, against everyone they wrongfully involved, with foreknowledge and malice, including Mr. Berg's minor clients. Followed by more preparing, to commit more fraud upon the courts. Important, the synopsis line above, is detailed in another presentation. In short, Mr. Berg did not like what 7 transcript pages from Dr. Killeen's sworn testimony on December the 1st, 2011, said, so he removed those, and made up his own synopsis. One included Alex reporting being beaten up by his mother, to his school, Boys Latin School, where Mr. Berg sent Dr. Killeen to the school, obstructing justice, and prevented the school from reporting the abuse to the authorities. Alex reported being abused to his school, on 2 different occasions, with the same results. Mr. Berg's bill notes.
May 1, 2012, Trial preparation. Telephone with B. Carney, Esquire. 0.60 hours, for $180.
Note, the day before trial, Mr. Berg prepares to commit more fraud upon the court, then conspires with Miss Silesky's attorney, apparently for verification. Important. As you can see, Mr. Stengel refuses to pay Mr. Berg, yet he refuses to get out of the case. The alienation game. Use them. Abuse them. Alienate them.
Line by line.
Just like this one sample, and the other few sample bills in the days leading up to Dr. Killeen's fraudulent sworn testimony on December 1, 2011, under oath and the penalty of perjury, the crimes repeat. However, even if we only focus on this one sample, surely what we already heard makes sense, does it not?
The parties stipulated that the work performed was necessary and the fees charged as to each were fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable.
Add to that.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed. The parties stipulated that the work performed was necessary and the fees charged as to each were fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable. I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed. Line by line.
Which is a confession of your own fraud, and your role in all the frauds perpetrated upon Mr. Stengel, Alex and Maya, the hundreds of victims, and society, for 6+ years, and going. In 2011, 2012 and so on. Mr. Stengel documented warning you, and the others, there is no way out. And being reduced to, trapped, lab rats, in Mr. Stengel's ongoing research of, inside the minds of, evil psychosis. Since December 1, 2011, was scheduled to resume, technically, legally and ethically, Dr. Katherine Killeen is, and has been, still on the stand.
Line by line.
Only 6 days before Dr. Katherine Killeen is to retake the stand, Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
April 27, 2012, file review. 3.00 hours, for $750.
Obviously preparing to be cross-examined by Mr. Robert Wayne Lazzaro.
Meeting with Mr. Berg, telephone call with Mr. Lazzaro, telephone call with Ms. Silesky. 3.00 hours, for $750.
Where do we start? Not line by line, rather words by words. 1.
Meeting with Mr. Berg.
Note, just as noted in Mr. Berg's bill, further confirms the illegal and fraudulent actions by both Mr. Berg and Dr. Killeen. Mr. Berg's bill noted, this lasted 1.75 hours. That leaves 1.25 hours for the remainder of the illegal conversations. 2.
Telephone call with Mr. Lazzaro.
Mr. Lazzaro, what could Dr. Katherine Killeen and Mr. Robert Wayne Lazzaro, who is allegedly to be cross-examining Dr. Katherine Killeen in 6 days, possibly be talking about? While, technically still on the stand, Dr. Killeen is speaking and the opposing attorney. Really? Killeen, the only expert witness, due to still no report ever provided, for third-party outside review. 3.
Telephone call with Ms. Silesky.
Now, Dr. Killeen is speaking with the defendant herself. It's a full-out fraud circus. And the key part in all of this, Judge Judith Ensor states, all of their outrageous bill amounts are Mr. Stengel's doing. Even though all of the doing is behind Mr. Stengel's back, and in fraudulent criminal actions. Regardless, Mr. Stengel is responsible, and should pay.
Line by line.
Only 3 days before Dr. Katherine Killeen is to retake the stand, Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
April 30, 2012, interview with Alex. 1.00 hour, for $250.
Besides, 1. Still being on the stand. 2. Alex could be called as a witness. 3. Dr. Katherine Killeen swore she had completed her evaluations, therefore could make a covert school decision for Maya in late September 2011. 4. Therefore, testify as an expert on December 1, 2011. 5. Stated, she was done gathering data, as would be required, in order to complete her so-called evaluations. So, why was Dr. Killeen harassing Alex? Besides, Alex already made his wishes clear on numerous occasions. On 2 occasions, begged his father to take him to talk to a judge, not wanting to go back to his mother. Mr. Lazzaro said Mr. Stengel must take him to Mr. Berg. After both times, Alex stated,
"That was a waste of time. Can you please take me to talk to a judge now?"
However, Dr. Katherine Killeen, under oath and the penalty of perjury, swears this.
He has never actually refused to go over to her house, so...
Huh? That only counts as one of the 179 listed.
He has never actually refused to go over to her house, so...
Really? There is more. There is always more. Most actions have 3, 5, 8 plus confirming pieces of evidence, such as this. Subject, Free Alex and my R. Email dated November the 28th, 2011, at 3:54 a.m. From Mr. Stengel to Dr. Katherine Killeen and Robert Wayne Lazzaro. Note, Dr. Katherine Killeen receiving this just 3 days before her sworn testimony. The email details the events at the police station, such as Alex telling his mother he did not want to live with her, period. It also clearly states Alex refused to get out of the car. Well, that's not good for their year-long agenda. Therefore, just hours later, Mr. Carney's bill notes,
November 28, 2011, read email from Susu regarding her desire to not let kids testify.
Surprise! Billed 0.30 hours for $112.50. How trapped are these research subjects? Well, just 3 days later, and Mr. Stengel can do this.
He has never actually refused to go over to her house, so... He has never actually refused to go over to her house, so... He has never actually refused to go over to her house, so...
We continue. It's all in line with their constant, collective, child predatory and intentional abusive actions from day one. Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
Interview with Maya. 0.60 hour, for $150.
Besides 1 still being on the stand. 2, my R could be called as a witness. 3, Dr. Katherine Killeen swore she had completed her evaluations. 4, and was done gathering data. That's 4 reasons this line-by-line item is both illegal and unethical. Yet is somehow Mr. Stengel's doing. And it was Maya's turn to have her own experiences explained as delusional, and their delusion, in cooperation with Miss Silesky, of course, forced down her throat, which must, at all costs, be Maya's reality. Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
Court preparation. 3.00 hours, for $750.
Really, Dr. Katherine Killeen? Given their day one agenda is to intentionally remove Mr. Stengel from his children's life, and remove the children's father from them.
Is everyone enjoying their behind-the-scenes view of evil?
Line by line.
The very day before Dr. Katherine Killeen is to retake the stand, Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
May 1, 2012, telephone call with Ina Basefeld, Alex's therapist. 1.00 hour, for $250.
What could possibly take an hour, the day before Dr. Katherine Killeen is to retake the stand, if not gathering data?
I know. Manufacturing more counterfeit orders.
Telephone call with Peggy Kolodny, Maya's therapist. 1.00 hour, for $250.
Again?
It appears so. Given she has never talked to them since.
Telephone call with Mr. Berg, Mr. Lazzaro, and Mr. Carney. 1.60 hours, for $400.
The only one missing is Judith Ensor.
Line by line.
They are constantly conspiring. The extremely high-level unconscionables do not follow rules or laws. As an example, let's allow Mr. Lazzaro confirm his awareness during his criminal actions and advises Judith Ensor of the facts and realities of all of their actions. So when Ensor goes line by line, she will have more clarity. This provided on May 1, 2012. Nearly 17 months before decision day, and the day before, Dr. Killeen was to be cross-examined. Let's listen.
The only idea, if Your Honor, please, was that Judge Martin only heard Dr. Killeen's direct testimony. He then suspended the proceedings, advised Mr. Stengel to get an attorney so that she could be properly cross-examined. And that hasn't been revisited yet. So technically, Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
Since December the 1st, 2011. 5 months and going.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand. Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
Pay no attention to, 5 months earlier, Mr. Lazzaro's bills, documenting collusion, in the days prior to Dr. Killeen taking the stand, on December the 1st, 2011. November the 29th, 2011, Mr. Lazzaro's bill notes.
Telephone conference with Leon Berg.
0.20 hours, $460. November the 30th, 2011, Mr. Lazzaro's bill notes.
Telephone conference with Katie Killeen.
0.30 hours, $490.
Line by line.
November the 30th, 2011, Mr. Lazzaro's bill notes.
Telephone conference with Carney.
1.20 hours, for $360.
Line by line.
November the 30th, 2011, Mr. Lazzaro's bill notes.
Telephone conference with Dr. Killeen.
0.40 hours, for $120. It looks like this, in the spread the fraud sheets. Mr. Lazzaro bails, at representing Mr. Stengel on December the 1st, 2011. Obviously, he kept working, with his crime ring.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line.
Mr. Lazzaro confesses his knowledge of them all, committing crimes, to intentionally and successfully alter the case.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
After all, just days prior, only 6 days before Dr. Katherine Killeen is to retake the stand, Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
April 27, 2012, meeting with Mr. Berg, telephone call with Mr. Lazzaro, telephone call with Ms. Silesky. 3.00 hours, for $750.
Mr. Lazzaro wires it for directions, to the courthouse across the street. The one Dr. Katherine Killeen billed for, 1 hour, travel time. Apparently, it is some sort of time travel.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
Fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable.
How important is recognizing evil?
Well, that was more than obvious. And to answer your question, recognizing evil predators is the #1 most important thing, by far. Also, thank you for that financial information. I will just add one thing, to the end of that very small sampling.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line. I studied the descriptions of the work performed, and I considered the rates charged. Part of that review, frankly, was with an eye to determining who was actually driving the litigation. And of course, for that, I only have the pleadings filed and the descriptions delineated in the bills themselves. I do find the hourly rates charged to be fair. I find the time allotted for the tasks performed reasonable. I find that of the almost $200,000 in legal bills, much is attributable to inappropriate actions on the part of Mr. Stengel.
That was on pages 191 to 192. We have not heard from Mr. Leon W. Berg. Where do we even begin? Let's do just one. This, just prior to Ensor's conclusions, and back on page number 37. Mr. Berg, whenever you are ready.
Very little of my perspective on this case had much to do with what Ms. Silesky said, or didn't say, or did, or didn't.
Huh?
Very little of my perspective on this case had much to do with what Ms. Silesky said, or didn't say, or did, or didn't.
and 155 pages after that confession comes this.
I find that of the almost $200,000 in legal bills, much is attributable to inappropriate actions on the part of Mr. Stengel.
Even the small amount just provided will now make it all a little clearer. After hundreds of thousands already extorted comes this. $179,000 plus fraudulent judgments. Racketeering and predatory crime ring of bullies manufacturing money. Hot off the press. Counterfeiting orders and trading them in for counterfeit judgments and trading for real property and trading for cashola.
I find that of the almost $200,000 in legal bills, much is attributable to inappropriate actions on the part of Mr. Stengel.
Even though, on November the 30th, 2012, last day of trial, and only 4 days after this.
I have a question for Your Honor, if you don't mind. In relation to Mr. Carney's bills, am I able to ask him questions in regards to his bills?
No.
No.
Just 4 days later. And, like Cox and Ensor, Mr. Carney details his $200,000 of evidence.
As the court pointed out earlier, it's a whole lot more expensive to lie than it is to tell the truth. Because as Mr. Fetter said, to ferret out the lie, you've got to do more work. And the more work I did, the more frustrating it became because I just kept coming up empty. I just kept coming up empty. I just kept coming up empty.
Line by line.
I just kept coming up empty.
Line by line.
I just kept coming up empty.
Line by line.
I just kept coming up empty.
Line by line.
I just kept coming up empty.
I studied the description.
I just kept coming up empty.
I studied the description.
I just kept coming up empty.
I studied the description.
I just kept coming up empty.
I studied the description.
I just kept coming up empty.
There should be no video. No one should be watching a video.
Dr. Killeen is still on the stand.
I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
Crime by crime. Evidence. You have more criminal confessions than most cases have evidence.
I went through the bills. I went through them line by line.
Dr. Alan Kimmel, Ms. Stengel's medical doctor, aware of Ms. Stengel's mental health issues.
I don't have a shred of evidence before me.
So changes what numbers? You can't afford to send your kids to good schools, and yet you're going to keep them in a school district that's going to become black, like Newtown and Randallstown.
Hopefully.
Let's go, Maya.
Hopefully.
With your lunch. So glad this happened.
I'm kind of screwed in this way because he hasn't physically hurt me. I'm kind of screwed in this way because he hasn't physically hurt me.
You don't even let me, because that's what it feels like. So you come, I do the shooting. Mark!
Dr. Alan Kimmel, Ms. Stengel's medical doctor, aware of Ms. Stengel's mental health issues.
Dr. Killeen's bill notes.
May 19, 2011. Telephone call with Dr. Kimmel. 0.50 hours, for $125.
Their concern for the obvious is made obvious by the fact they waited nearly 3 months to even contact Dr. Kimmel. These calendars, used in one presentation, are beyond enlightening.
Dr. Alan Kimmel, Ms. Stengel's medical doctor, aware of Ms. Stengel's mental health issues.
Also decision day. Now, let's hear from this bully.
Well, I have a deputy here, not because I don't think I could take the parties. Well, I have a deputy here, not because I don't think I could take the parties. Well, I have a deputy here, not because I don't think I could take the parties. I don't have a shred
Well, in that case, allow me to provide another one, of the insane number, you were long ago, provided. Using the most valuable tool society will ever own. Where almost all problems can be clarified. You will envision this tool appearing in your personal life, the news, etc. Whether you like it or not. The better trained, the more this tool provides. It even has a beginner's level. You can see the poison ivy effect. Watch how easy this tool is to operate, and the realities it provides. A predator, or unconscionable, same thing, violates a mother and a father, who are conned to surrender their own First Amendment rights, and risk involvement in a criminal proceeding. Now, the infected. Already infected, the goal is to convert as many as possible, to carriers. Worker bees. With that, comes their carrier orders. Using an actual scenario, and actual evidence, it operates, exactly like this.
January 7th, 2015. Dear Mr. Stengel, the purpose of my writing is to inform you to immediately cease and desist from all communication with me of any kind. By communication, I mean not only written, email, text, and phone, but communication through third parties and social media. Your failure to comply with this basic request may lead to a request for a civil peace order against you, or the filing of criminal harassment charges. Thank you for your cooperation.
Trickle down psychotics. Inside the Minds of Evil Psychosis. A free, reality Boulevard series. A detailed and inside look, from behind the curtain of evil. From a medically documented, long-term mental illness, criminal and predator, to and through, the also corrupt, Maryland Court of Special Appeals. And still going. The Judicial Corruption Academy. Ground Zero, in the research. Governor Martin O'Malley, sponsor.
Stuff. Who do you think you are?
Governor Larry Hogan, sponsor.
Stuff. Who do you think you are?
Judith C. Ensor.
Who do you think you are?
Kathleen G. Cox.
Who do you think you are?
Paul J. Hanley.
Who do you think you are?
Scott D. Schellenberger.
Who do you think you are?
Attorney Grievance Commission of Maryland.
Who do you think you are?
Maryland Commission on Judicial Disabilities.
Who do you think you are?
Governor Martin O'Malley. Governor Larry Hogan. Crime pays. Well. Another long-term live research subject. Donald Trump. Stay tuned.
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Almost forgot.
Sorry, but it's so not a democracy that out in the open they make a mockery of democracy while expanding the bubble.
Now, all colors are afraid. Democracy. Intro, Part 3 of 3.
Why are you receiving this? But why you? Why you, specifically? And you surely don't want some general, non-related response. Just as pressing is the question. Where is this going? To answer the questions. Number 1, why are you receiving this? Answer, because you did. Number 2, but why you? Answer, because in some way you are connected to this research. Number 3, why you, specifically? Answer, you already have the answer. But to a different question. Do you have a conscience? If yes, you are in the estimated 96% of the population. If no, you are in the estimated 4% of the population. Number 4, where is this going? Answer, for starters, it's going to math. 4% is 1 in 25 people. You know them, but you don't know them. You know who they are, but you don't know what they are. They tell no one. You don't know if you are sleeping with one. Don't feel bad. The experts don't know either, as you will learn. Number 4a. However, the 4%, we call them unconscionables, know those with a conscience. Number 4b. And they know that they know you, and know you don't know them. Therefore, they also know you are completely unaware that either of those, number 4a or number 4b, even exist. Did you know there were 2 teams? With the upcoming screens, try to focus more on the audio. So, did you know there are teams at the very core of our species? If not, chances are you are in the 96%. It's also important to know the experts themselves don't know which ones the 4% are. They just know there is our portion of the population with problems. Those in the 4% will act like they don't know. Besides, this is never brought up to them, because nobody knows who the them are. Look at it like a sporting event. 96 players against 4 players. This is going to be easy, right? Why even bother playing, right? Well, let's first go over just some of the rules. Rule number 1. The 96 players aren't aware or told there is a game going on. Rule number 2. The 96 players don't even know they are on a team. Rule number 3. The 96 players don't know what the game is even called. Rule number 4. The 96 players don't know it even exists. Rule number 5. But really rule number 1. The 4 players don't play by rules. Rule number 6. The 4 players are not bothered by any of this, as that is the job of a conscience. Rule number 7. The 4 players will enroll some of the 96 players to do things that will be counterproductive to their own team. Rule number 7a. More easily done, given those players, we call them carriers, aren't aware there are teams. Rule number 7b. Therefore, that carriers, also known as the worker bees, are not aware they are on the opposite team. Rule number 8. One unconscionable can have many carriers. Rule number 9. The best carriers are the ones that enroll other carriers to also commit acts and score points for the opposing team. Rule number 10. The rest of the 96% that thinks whatever the unconscionable is doing, or any carrier is doing, or says, which relates in any way to assisting or forwarding anything from an unconscionable as being okay, are called the infected. Rule number 11. The infected are no more aware than the carriers are aware they are carriers. Rule number 12. The only one that knows any of this is going on, knows all of this is going on. The unconscionables. Rule number 13. There are many games. And games within games. We call them puzzles within puzzles. With that small rule book, real-world example, we can learn a few things. Number 1. Chances are you are clueless. Number 2. It's really not 96 players against 4 players. Number 3. They don't play by any rules. And their actions don't bother them. Number 4. Therefore, the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. But really, outer limits. Outer limits. How far out? Imagine the unimaginable. You can't. Now, let's talk math. What are the odds you are currently on one of those two teams? Answer, 100%. What are the odds your life currently is affected in some way by an unconscionable? Answer, 100%. What are the odds you are unaware of who or how many are affecting your life currently? Answer, 100%. What are the odds any and all of those questions are ridiculous? Answer, 100%. Why? Because none of it exists in your world. It exists. You just can't see any of it. And because you can't see it, hear it, or recognize it, you are not aware of its existence. Add to that, it's the biggest secret closet of all. And you will not hear it talked about. Because that would expose them. In fact, their spouses, and even their own children, are kept in the dark. They don't even discuss it amongst themselves. But it exists, as you will learn. Meanwhile, look at it like a dog whistle. It can be blown right in front of your face, and you can't hear it. But the sound exists. Surely you know someone that was, or is involved, with someone they consider a nightmare. Maybe called a real nut job, or an ice queen, or a sociopath, or a psychopath, as there are many names used. Ask that person, what would it have been worth, if you knew in advance, to not get involved? There will be two answers. The first one will be their facial expression. The second will be what they verbally say. They will both match. And those already involved with an unconscionable, with kids, may feel trapped. What if those daily victims can learn a handful of simple tools that has been repeatedly proven to alter their life? And this is all free. Would they be interested? Would you be interested? What would it be worth to you to better advise your child before you send them off to college? Or advise them in regards to who they may be wanting to marry without having to say a word? Just by some simple questions in the curiosity aspect. Reality. Not all of the estimated 4% of unconscionables are extremely high-level unconscionables. However, even if only 1%, the really dangerous ones. How many people would have elected Donald Trump if they knew, with 100% certainty, he is an extremely high-level unconscionable? Which he is. That puts aside his involvement in the rigged election. That takes us back to why you? Why you, specifically? And the answers are many, and rather simple. So here are a few. So you can see what is going on, right in front of you, every day. So you can watch Donald Trump, for example, with X-ray vision, so to speak. So you will clearly understand why there always was, and always will be, a 0% chance Donald Trump will be anything but a part-time president, and a full-time, pathological liar. Which he is, and they are, by default. Remember, it's not 96 players against 4 players. In fact, that is not even close. Even if we assume you are aware of the game that is going on, aware of the arena, aware of the sport being played, and the 100 players. Well, can you recognize which are the 4 unconscionables? How about the carriers who are scoring points for the opposing team? Any idea at all? Pretty much, almost all problems in society will fit nicely into this research. For a quick example, there is no doubt Leah Remini and Mike Rinder did a very nice job with documenting Scientology and the aftermath. Given this research is retroactive, allowing anyone to look back to better understand what was really going on. So, how does this apply to Leah Remini? Let's see if this helps. Currently an expert in Scientology. However, for decades, and completely clueless, Leah Remini was a carrier. A carrier that was enrolled by another carrier. Leah spent decades forwarding evil and psychotic ideas, actions and agendas, fully engrossed in an alternate universe. Decades were spent scoring points for the opposing team. The carriers by default are part of the infected group as well. Translated. A carrier is a worker bee that stings itself and anyone it can. Therefore, Leah Remini's actions for decades were against her own best interest. No different than one surrendering their own First Amendment rights. The full understanding of this research and using the same tool creates a magnetic funnel effect, simply by verifying, referred to as sourcing, the actions. Once properly trained, it's much easier than it sounds. It looks similar, but in reverse. Asked Leah Remini what would it have been worth if she knew in advance not to get involved with Scientology. Among many things, this research also proves with 100% certainty Martin Luther King was absolutely correct. Our species' actions had no relation whatsoever to skin color. Now, remember this. Whatever you think this research is, it's not. At best, it will be a very small, smaller than small, tiny portion. Just so you know, I can guarantee whatever you are thinking it is relates to a problem. Am I right? Just know that problem, whatever you were thinking, is merely a result. One of hundreds of results. And if you think this segment gives you a clue, it doesn't. All you're being provided by this segment is, you are clueless. And you are clueless that you are clueless. This research is the complete opposite. It's the education of the root cause, complete with many tools to assist in the prevention before being victimized. And includes the direction for the solution, if that's even possible. If there is no solution possible, this research will be even more valuable. What if this research contained the answers to almost all of the major problems which are your problems as well? Would it then answer why you specifically? The bottom line answer is, whether you realize it or not, which you don't, you are being asked to imagine the unimaginable. You can't. But you must. And yet, you can't. This research takes you to and through the required experience and provided tools along the way. This is the front door. Let's rephrase that. This needs to be the front door. The door, and in its capacity, currently does not even exist for the masses. You will be learning with the experts. The good news is, like many fields in education, the psychology field begins with Psychology 101. Therefore, making room for what comes first, and should occupy some of those numbers below 101. Besides, this is for the masses, not just those taking what are known as traditional courses.
The unconscionables. The carriers. The infected. What we have is trickle-down psychotics. The unconscionables. The carriers. The infected. Versus reality. Prepare to ride the delusional trolley. When can Google start? When can Amazon start? When can the media start? All veterans. Guardians of rights. Defending humanity. Watch disc number 1. Go on. But first, let's once again ponder.
Who owns this? Well, from the current looks of it, it appears this guy thinks he does